It's Dr. Tennant's Verbal Highs. Let's start the show with Lewis Tennant. Here we go. Guests and interviews that you're looking for with creators, innovators, and so much more. For all episodes and further info, verbalhighs.com is the place to go.
Right, so just, I'm a list maker. Oh, I make lists. I make lists for weeks. I make lists for days. I don't really make year lists. I had a very sort of annoyingly focused friend for a number of years who would do a year plan. But I am, in terms of levels of planning, I'm somewhere on the slightly neurotic spectrum. Anyway, I just went to get coffee from the supermarket without a list, which I'm normally pretty good at, and I've come back with some pork, some cheese, some ice blocks. What else did I get? Sure, a couple of other things. I just went to make a coffee and to do this intro, and I'm going to have to go and buy some coffee from the supermarket after I do this intro. Welcome to Dr. Tennant's Verbal Highs, a podcast podcasted, I was going to say weekly. Old habits die hard. Podcasted a couple of times a month, roughly, from a kitchen bench in Kingston, Auckland, Aotearoa. My guest today, an interesting character. I sort of spotted... Well, I knew who Levi was. Well, you discerning regulars on my podcast probably know Levi, and probably have known of Levi longer than from the time he became a human meme in 2011. If you are listening because it's that Nick Minute guy on, fantastic. Look at some of the back apps as well. There's 75 other interesting Kiwis. But a lot of you will know, well, people knew he was a skater through the vid, but a lot of you will know he I was going to say rolls deep. That sounds like a bad, cheesy pun. He has a long history in the Auckland skate scene in New Zealand. That's where Auckland is. I'm not going to start re-recording this intro. That's where things start to go a bit mad. I should have kept all the outtakes. It'd be like that famous Casey Kasem reel. Maybe not as sweary. Anyway, the reason I want to have Levi on is because I've seen some of his sort of ponderings and the way he puts those ponderings together on social media. We're not friends on social media. Well, we are now since we met the other night. But I thought, what an interesting cat. I like his opinions. He articulates them well. And I knew that if I got him over to talk about skateboarding, he'd do so in such a way, that told the history as well as a bit of history. His history with a bit of sort of philosophizing along the way. Of course, we do touch on the becoming a meme overnight in New Zealand, which must be terribly odd. As he discusses the the highlights and lowlights of that, he talks about the shitbags on YouTube. What's the most shitbags are on YouTube, right, comment-wise? I think there's a lot of little kids and stuff, and I think it's something about it being anonymous and very large. But I won't give too much away, as the whole point of the app is to listen to him. He chats for about an hour or 20. We could have kept going. I've always really romanticised skating. I'm just completely fucking useless at it. Yes, one of my most regular listeners, my dear old friend Malcolm, who was quite good at it, will remember me being quite terrible at it, but trailing along with him and Anton. And as I asked Levi about, I've kind of pondered, for your listening to skaters, ponder about it, so on kind of what it is. Not that it needs to be anything, but it's totally limiting to call it a sport. It's a creative endeavour. It's an art form, and also tied in with that, I noticed that a lot of my most interesting skateboarding friends in terms of style are often deeply creative people in other realms too. Levi's comment about YouTube assholes, mine not as hurtful as what he would have got there, but it made me think about, on iTunes I've got a couple of 1-star ratings, and I'm sort of putting this out there into the universe as a sort of ponderance question. Maybe you could hit me up at verbalhighs@gmail.com. Like, if something is free, it's free content, it's put onto the internet by someone who is a hobbyist, which is in its absolute essence what this is. I do it in my spare time. I don't have anyone to invoice. And I just wonder, does that give you... Surely if you don't like something, you just kind of move on. One's hilarious when you hover over it. It's like it says awful or terrible or I'd rather just end my life, kind of a thing. So I don't know why people feel the need to do that. Having said that, silver linings, glass half full. I've actually got a lot of ratings relative to listeners, and most of them are really positive. And also have people who are almost kind of patrons, in that out of the blue, strangers and people I know have dropped into the donate button from time to time, which is lovely. So most of y'all, you're lovely. You 1-star people. I think it's 2 people who've got something, some beef with Louis from the past. Sad to hear about Keith Flint. Suicide in the late 40s is pretty friggin' terrifying. It made me think, if you're sort of not up with Prodigy over the last few years, I seem to remember a while back when I listened to the Liam Howlett, it might have even been a double ep on Distraction Pieces, which is Scroobius Pip's podcast. I found that really interesting. Kind of music boffinery from memory, but rest in peace, Keith. Quite random and not related at all, but happening in the same week that I'm talking to. That's my pinball machine. It's got a Midnight Madness feature. Anyone wants to buy that? It's on Trade Me. It's great. They don't lose value. I'm only selling it because I have to do more grown-up stuff. Anyway, I chanced upon a fantastic... I'm actually going to use it in a lecture I'm writing up about cinematography because of some of the shots of the skating. Well, I thought it was fantastic. Just a low-key doco about the black American roller skating culture in the States and how a lot of the rinks haven't embraced that in recent years, and they're starting to close, and it's sort of like, good old veiled and not so veiled racism again. But damn, they can skate. And I knew, like Moody Man, a lot of those kind of Detroit cats are big roller skate aficionados. And I didn't know, all the hip hop stuff I've watched. I didn't know till I watched United Skates. It's an HBO thing that a lot of big name hip hop acts got their start performing at skate rinks, because that's where the people were, and they were all ages and so on. So mad footage of I think, that's right, yeah, that's one of the things, this sort of like this down, I like the down old white dudes, this down old white guy going, yep, Dr. Dre was the resident DJ here. There's some footage of him at about 17 or whatever from memory. Okay, we hit 7 minutes. It's time to move along, Lewis. Okay, Verbal Highs podcast on Facebook, Verbal Highs on Twitter. A like or a comment just makes my week, makes my day. It's lovely. And I've got a website called verbalhighs.com. The apps are up there. They're all downloadable. Peer into the mind of Levi. Levi, I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, my man, and I hope you enjoy listening back to it.
Verbal high straight down from up above.
You're the quietest person to try and get a level off if you've ever come across.
Yeah.
Okay, no, that's good.
Sorry.
That's all right.
I'm just sort of, yeah.
What's the busy at the moment? You said you got lots on.
I've just been, I guess, working and skating and trying to do other things, art, and just trying to do your social media and everything. It's kind of like shit. It takes up time,
It's funny how that last bit's a component now. Like, it's like you kind of, everyone's sort of got to not brand themselves. That sounds cheesy, but if you want to get stuff out there, you've got to know how to use social media, right? For all your art and creative stuff. And what do you do work-wise? Is it still landscaping?
Yeah, I'm landscaping.
Yeah.
I drive the truck too, so I do a lot of pickups and deliveries. So I spend a lot of time driving around. Yeah. And I've been sort of doing that job for 4 years now. Yeah. And it's just been keeps me in a good routine. I guess I've been sort of toning down the partying and trying to get back in that routine. And
it's a life's work, right?
Physical
it's a life's work.
Yeah, physical work is like it's a good way to do that,
But you were very, passion skating means you never would have been someone who wasn't, you never would have been not physical. You wouldn't be on the couch.
Yeah, but as you get older, your body starts changing and you can't just skate every day, all day, and your body's just going to deal with it, It's like you got to do something that's going to actually strengthen it as well. And so I'm sort of now I'm starting to look at, I don't know, I'm cutting down my hours with the landscaping because I've got other things that I want to do.
Yeah.
And I'd like to be able to maybe spend a bit more time. I never really go to the gym or anything, but I'd like to spend a bit more time doing more, I don't know, like...
calisthenics.
Yeah, just like, I guess, I'm trying to avoid saying the word training.
Yeah, people say like yoga, those sorts of things these days.
Yeah.
It's anything that like, when do you reckon that, because like, I reckon I sussed today that you're 42?
43.
Okay, I'm 42. Pretty much same generation, same era of New Zealand. And you know, it's like a sad running theme in conversations with bros around my age these days is, you know, the body slowing down a bit. When did that really start to hit with skating? Like, when do you start to notice, like, I can't just, you know, is it 10 years ago? 5 years ago?
I'd say like maybe your mid-20s.
Oh, right.
I mean, that's when, because obviously, I mean, when you said to people from our era and like skateboarding, we thought that you died after you were 27, you know, like, so, you know, if you were over the age of 20, you were old.
Well, you know, I was thinking about that today. Like, I read something where you were talking about how people's attitudes have changed, and it sort of relates to you saying that, like, because I think there was like a hard line between a kid and an adult that we remember that you don't sort of get so much these days. Like, you see dads out skating with their kids.
Yeah.
Felt like anyone over 30, you just sort of donned a suit and were old.
Yeah, well, I think skateboarding's been around for so long now that pretty much it's sort of like there isn't many people who never rode a skateboard.
Yeah.
You know, like, I guess it's like the age of people who were in the war. Yeah. And then, like, you know, World War II, it's like, it's gradually like there'll be no one left who was in World War II.
Yeah.
There'll be no one left who didn't ride a skateboard.
Oh, it's got to endure, doesn't it, surely? It's not like you're going to be the last, like, four-wheel digger at the local skate RSL.
No, of course you're not. But I was saying it the other way around.
Oh,
like,
right.
You'll be like the last person left who never did ride, who never rode a skateboard.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just everyone. Episode 76. I'm with Levi Hawken, skater, artist, teacher, landscaper, and since 2011, arguably spent a period as a human meme. Which I'm sure we'll get to later. You were born in Dunedin, bro. What were your folks or your mum doing down there for you to be born there? Like education or teachers or?
You've been reading Wikipedia, haven't you?
I do what I can. I go 4 pages deep. Where were you born?
Oh no, it's funny. The Wikipedia page is wrong. I'm not from Dunedin.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
Where are you from?
I'm from Auckland.
You are from Auckland. That's what my spidey senses told me before the internet sent me in the wrong direction. So we're from in Auckland.
I guess I don't know, I was born in Glen Innes, Point England, and at home, and then we moved to the Waitakares, and then we were there for a few years, and then I pretty much grew up in Herne Bay, on the sort of the southern slopes, which is the Greyland. It was sort of like a part of Greyland. It was very multicultural.
Yeah, because I'm from Wellington, but, you know, I've heard, like, Dominic and people like that talk about how different that area was. It really was, right? Yeah,
really different.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really, like, pretty hippie and, like, multicultural, just lots of Polynesians and, it was, I don't know, we had, like, our neighbours were, like, the gnarliest white trash ever. Like... Yeah.
In what way?
Well, I don't know, they had like, the back of their house was like a shack made out of little bits of wood. Yeah. You know, like a lean-to. Yeah. And their backyard was just full of junk and they grew weed. Yeah. And,
man, the days before resource consent, man. You know, it's the way to live. I loved the line because I was so related to it growing up in Lower Bay. Somewhere Tourette's Dominic was saying, like, he used to come out of his house in the morning and the family dog would look at him and he'd look at the dog and then they'd both go separate ways and then they'd turn up at the end of the day. That's kind of like how the world was, you know?
We used to play in the streets, and that was like our playground, you know? We didn't have skate parks or anything. It was like you'd go on adventures on your BMX and your skateboards and, you know.
So what is that now? I know they say gaming and all that sort of thing, but I reckon before that, like, people are scared of their kids being out, but I think there's just as many bad people in the world as there was then. Like, why aren't kids allowed to just take off in the morning? And
I guess because it's less, the veil's been lifted. But the crazy thing is, you know, like, I mean, most of the predators are hiding behind curtains of religion and organizations and the people that you're actually meant to trust. So I think like it'd
be hard being a Catholic now, eh?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. So what were you folks doing? Was your dad around, aside from being hippies?
Well, they were hippies. My dad became a lawyer.
Yeah.
Like, he was sort of at law school.
Yeah.
When I was in when we were out west, and and then my parents broke up when I was about 2.5.
Yeah.
And my dad kind of split off to America and went on a big trip around California, and we lived with my mum and my stepdad.
Yeah.
Who was a surfer.
Yeah.
He was a lot younger than my mum.
Yeah.
And a builder.
Did he kind of introduce you to the gnarly variety of sports, or?
Well, I mean, he probably scared the shit out of me when it came to surfing, taking me out to, like, because I don't really surf. I've never picked it up. He'd take me out to Bethel's. We'd go around to O'Neill's, which is pretty savage surf, and he took me out the back and, like, put me on some waves, and I think that just scared me so much that I probably didn't really get into surfing.
So no snowboarding either, I take it, because that's kind of skating and surfing in the middle, eh?
Yeah, but that wasn't until like I was.
I mean
14,
down the track.
I mean,
most skaters do, you know, one of the other.
Yeah, I mean, there was a guy across the road, Richard Gardner. And he had a skateboard. He had like a cool Trax skateboard that was pretty legit. And he'd take me to Toll Street Bowl, and he was kind of like the first person to introduce me to skateboard. But I never had a skateboard till I was about 7. Because we didn't.
1975, 1982. It wouldn't even have been like a kind of late 80s era power board. It would have been like a plastic.
No, it was a plastic board.
Yeah.
I used to sit like. Before I had a skateboard, my sisters had like those strap-on roller skates.
Yeah.
And you could extend the size.
Yeah,
on them.
I remember
so
them.
I'd extend it out to like the longest it would go.
And couldn't you put a regular shoe in them? Some of them? Yeah.
And then I'd just pretty much sit on that and hold on to the shoelaces and roll down the hill on it, because I didn't have a skateboard, and I used to drag it around by the shoelace too. It was like my pet. So we didn't have a dog or anything.
Because we were from the old Herne Bay.
Because we were just, it was like, but, you know, it was like, and there were a lot of other kids, and they all had like, some of them had like Trax boards and like, or they had like the plastic Edwards boards, and when I was 7, I got like the cheapest, like, price point skateboard, which was a Super Skate with plastic wheels. And
bro, we joke about the quote unquote poverty thing. People actually forget, well, people don't forget, but it's worth reminding people that just you couldn't get a lot of stuff in New Zealand back then.
Yeah.
So it was more like, you know, you had that kid who's like, dad would go to the States regularly or something, and he'd have all this, like, you know, just stuff people take for granted now. Like, there just was not.
My parents weren't the types to like buy things for you as well.
No.
It was like you had to kind of like you had to do some work and earn some money, and then they'd pay half, or, you know, like, or you get it for Christmas, but, you know, like, it wasn't.
We are sounding so far into this, like two old men reminiscing about the children and thinking, you know, talking about the kids of today. So was it something where you, because it's enjoyed, man, for like decades for you, was it just an instant connection when you first tried skateboarding? Like, I just want to be on this thing all the time.
I used to roll down the hill on my ass on like anything with wheels, I think. Yeah. And I actually I got a skateboard, but it was such a shit skateboard. Like, those shit skateboards with the plastic wheels have got a lot to answer for. I think
we're still in thin territory.
Yeah, but even the new ones, even the ones you buy from the warehouse and shit, and like they've got plastic wheels and they're fucking rubbish. And
dangerous.
And you have such a shit time trying to skate them that it's enough to put any kid off.
Yeah.
And so I mean, I think I kind of got put off by it, and I got a BMX.
Yeah.
I saved up, and my stepdad chipped in, and we got a BMX, and I kind of started riding that because also like when I started skateboarding, everyone pushed with their back foot and I pushed with my other foot, and I was like, which is Mongo.
I'm just trying to do that down here, and thinking about that. Yeah,
And I was like, I couldn't do it the other way, and it was like, I don't know, I kind of failed and
didn't follow the regulation.
Yeah, I think I kind of got more into riding my BMX, and then I just sort of kept coming back to skateboarding, and then I think when I was about 10 or I don't know, like 11, we started intermediate, and there was a kid from Australia called Luke, and he had like a proper pro board.
But do you also, and like, I'm not going to try and drop any kind of skateboarding history on you. These are questions and statements.
Yeah.
Because we're around the same age. I have a distinct memory of like the like whole culture of skateboarding becoming quite well known in New Zealand then. Like some kid had like Curb Dogs, this really daggy like early skate video, and we'd all watch it over and over at intermediate. Like I remember around intermediate, around that age, like it just felt like suddenly skateboarding was here.
Yeah, I think
late 80s, man, eh? Like 87, 80.
Because I was in Auckland, I guess like we probably had more access to international stuff than anyone. So there was like dubbed videos of like...
No one sent us a fax in Wellington. We were 2 years late.
Well, but I mean, cheapskates existed, and they were like, you know, they were bringing... Stuff was coming in. There was like, I think the first things that I really saw were like the Bones Brigade video show and Wheels of Fire by Santa Cruz. And...
Well, one day... one night recently, I think in the last few years, possibly, you know, middle of the night YouTube trawling, I watched Curb Dogs again, and it isn't that flash. But it did inspire us.
I don't actually think I've seen Curb Dogs.
I don't think you would. You probably never even heard of it.
We just didn't...
Recess of my childhood memory.
I don't even know if how old I was when we got a video player, or like it was kind of like a big deal to go to the video shop even. So like,
yeah, if
we were going to the video shop, like we'd be probably getting what my parents wanted to watch. Like it wasn't, I wouldn't get to like choose. Like I'd see things and I'd be like, I want to see this. And I'd be like, you know what?
This was at school, one dubbed video. I'm sure it was watched there.
Yeah.
And were you spotted like for having like natural balance and all the rest of it? Like were you spotted as like that dude can skate full stop from an early age? Right. So are you like a 10,000 hours guy?
Yeah.
No, surely there must be some.
You know, I pushed Mongo, and
is that what you mean? Is that what the back foot thing's called?
You push with your front foot.
Front foot. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty ugly, and I couldn't ollie very high, and then my sister had this boyfriend called Jigger, and Jigger Johnson, and rest in peace, he just died a few years ago.
Oh, sorry, man.
But she was going out with him, and so I got to go and hang out, because I never got to hang out with the cool skaters, the older skaters,
yeah.
like, because my parents wouldn't let me go to town.
No, well, you were 12,
with the
bro.
older kids.
You're 12.
Well, no, I was like, but a lot of the other kids, like they'd go out and they'd skate all night.
Yeah.
And I'd hear about it at school,
yeah.
But I wasn't even allowed to go to Aotea Square. I remember like the first time I was allowed to go to Aotea Square. But anyway, Jigger, I went out skating with him one night with my sister.
Yeah.
When they first started going out, and we drove around and went to all these spots, and yeah, I remember he had to go on my board, and he did a board slide on this parking block. It was a wooden one, it had these metal bolts, and it like ripped the rail. I had like Edwards grabber rails, and it ripped the rail out, and then my board only had one rail, and it was gnarly. It was like, whoa, my board's gnarly now. It's only got one rail, and
the cool boyfriend of the older sister.
Yeah, and And he taught me how to lean into ollies, and then I went to school the next day and I like did ollies, and I fully like leaned into the front so much I'd like nosedive.
Yeah.
And so it was so ugly, but I remember ollieing over like, I think it was 2 boards, and
that's pretty.
And the cool guys that were better than me, being like pissed off that I could do this, the same thing that they could.
I hope you're a couple years younger too. I love that shit.
No, I wasn't. It was like we were the same age, but I don't know. I was.
You got shown some stuff from the older source, and came back and did it.
Yeah. Well, because that was the thing. Like, I mean, kids now, they've got everything handed to them.
Yeah.
On the internet, here's a machine where you can learn anything you want.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we didn't know anything. You know, like you.
I relate that to DJing, you know, and it's a blessing and a curse. But I know what you mean.
Well,
I think there's something in the sparseness of like availability.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
But it's evolution.
Oh, totally. That's what I'm saying.
And that's why, like, I look at skateboarding now, and people are like, "Oh man, the kids are so good now."
Yeah.
And the level of skating in the professional realm is so high.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, but that's because
that global sharing.
We were spending all our time trying to find the tricks and trying to work out how they were done because we couldn't watch them, and you know.
Do you reckon a lot of Kiwi skaters, or just some you can think of, developed quite a unique style at the time because of that? I've never really thought about that.
Well, I mean, there's Lee Ralph, and who's always been hailed as New Zealand's most unique, like, caveman vert skater.
As a personality, I would love to have him on, but that's like trying to get a fucking unicorn on the show, you know? It's like he's just...
No, it's not.
You reckon he's okay? I'll give him... I'll track him on down. I heard
Bro, all you got to do is, like, if he's around, just offer to buy him a box of beers.
Yeah, I've heard
and
that.
And he'll sit here and he'll drink the box of beers, and you might need 2 boxes.
Yeah.
And
then I got to edit down like 6 hours.
Yeah, and he'll tell you everything.
Yeah.
And I mean, you might go off topic quite a bit, but
there's no on topic really.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but you'll definitely he loves telling the stories of the past.
That's good to know, man. Because they won't get told otherwise.
Yeah.
And so, like, what I always observed about skaters and skateboarding is that, especially at that sort of age, like teenage years, is just, it might sound cheesy, but just being able to have that facility to get away and do something. And you talked about not being allowed to go to Aotea Square, but when you finally were, they were like quite formative years, right? You know, that quite a crew of Aucklanders developed there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a wild place to hang out, you know. You had all the glue sniffers there, and
early 90s.
Yeah, or like sort of like 88, 89, and then the early 90s. But I mean, the thing is, that skateboarding was huge in like 1989, but then in 1990, it died, and like it was. I mean, it went from every kid at school having a Nardis or a Rob Roscott. I wish that person would stop beeping.
Bro, you know what it is? It's so funny you notice this. You know what that is? It's been about a year or two. Every time that crane moves, since that development went in, health and safety-wise, it has to beep when it does something. Yes. But they can legally go to about 6. That's you're the first person who pointed that out. But yeah, it's not during the day.
But yeah, so like everyone back on top of it, everyone skated, and then I don't know, and then it was like third form, everyone skated.
That's what I was meaning, yeah.
Fourth form, or maybe so it was like maybe 1991. 91, no one skated anymore. It was done. But
you mean trend-wise, right? Something happened and another thing kind of kicked on off.
Yeah, just...
Oh, now I can hear the beeping.
But it just changed. I don't know. People got into BMX, and they just got into cars and girls, and I mean, I guess because I was at that age.
Yeah.
And but it was kind of. But I don't know. Yeah. So it went from being like the coolest thing to do to being totally uncool.
Yeah.
And so. Yeah, you just had no backup, and you'd skate in town, and people would drive past you and just call you faggots, and like it'd be like the full rugby head.
Yeah.
you just totally hated.
I think they would have been around whatever you were doing, man.
Yeah, but it was, but like, and to me that was a cool time though, because like, it went from all these dicks skating and all these dudes with all this gear and thinking that they were cool, and because they had all Powell track pants and Vision streetwear shirts.
Yeah.
And then suddenly it was like, I don't know, they were all gone.
Separated the sort of like chances from the people who were, interested in the subculture, I guess. And
it was cool because it started, I don't know, skateboarding was evolving so much and changing. It was exciting.
In what way? The ramp to street thing around then? Or
like boards, like the noses were getting bigger and like the tricks were getting more technical, and it was just getting, I know there was more videos, but yeah, it was just, things were changing, and I guess we, I know I was allowed to skate more, and there was more sort of like, it seemed like there was more to skate, like there was skate parks started popping up, like.
This is going forward a few years, but I was genuinely surprised when I read somewhere that you were talking about how they designed the front of the public library to be skater friendly. Like, I just thought all cities by definition were like they'd do anything but. It was kind of good to hear.
Yeah, it was
because there's still, I was going to say grommets. There's still younger folk down there a lot, man. There's always people down there skating, eh?
Yeah, I mean I think there was like
grommets. Listen to me, I can do about half an ollie.
Melbourne had like a skate strategy.
Yeah.
Plan to incorporate skateboarding into urban areas and stuff, and New Zealand, Auckland sort of followed suit. I think they looked at that, because we often look to bigger cities like Melbourne and places in Australia to and so they did like I think it was the 2001 Auckland skate strategy, which was a paper thing, and part of a report, and part of that was about building skate parks, and then about making things that were skater friendly, things that aren't going to get, like making it so metal edges were on things so they weren't going to get damaged. And
did they come and talk to you guys?
Yeah, I mean
Cool.
We did quite a bit of conversing, and I was pretty involved with the council and stuff back in those days. Nowadays, I've really just stepped back.
But then there is, like, this is devil's advocate, there is the outlaw side of skating that I think really appeals and is part of the culture, so it's sort of...
Yeah.
But hey, better surfaces, but I've always taken that as a part of the culture. It's a counterculture, man.
The Nick Minute thing happened, I sort of became... and because I'd worked so much in and around the council... and we were always trying to work with them to make things better. And we ended up doing the Skate Ambassador program, which I think it ended up, there was an article in the paper or something about it, some politician complaining about spending taxpayers' money on having skate ambassadors.
Back to the 80s and 70s again.
But it was crazy. Like I was teaching skating through Youth Town, and I was doing the Skate Ambassador program in the city, and trying to, like, when we'd cruise around, when we see people skating, we'd be like, hey, like, you can't, it would be better if you didn't skate here, or there's heaps of people here.
Yeah. Etiquette.
You can skate at the library. Yeah, teaching them etiquette.
Yeah.
And it was kind of weird, because I guess I'd always been a bit of an outlaw, especially when it came to like bombing hills and stuff in the city. So it was pretty strange doing that, and I sort of ended up feeling like a mum, like telling kids off or like some sort of cop on the right side. You need a little book of go here, do that. Yeah, so
I'm sure that wasn't how it was.
We sort of did that, and I don't know, I'd be at the skate park, and I'd be sort of like trying to get people to put their beer bottles in the bin and stuff, and I did that for a while, and I don't know, everything got, like, the funding didn't get renewed for Youth Town, for the skate school, and because I worked out at Avondale, at Riversdale Skate Park, with like the kids out there who were pretty unruly and pretty. But there was, I mean, it was a lot of fun. It was like, it was crazy working with those kids because you'd have a real good day one day and then you'd go back the next day and they'd just be gone. And it would just be gone. They'd be like, I don't want to skate today. Or like they'd skate real good. You'd have a spare skateboard at home and you'd give them their own skateboard. And then you'd get and the skateboard wouldn't be there, and you'd be like, "Oh, where's your skateboard today?"
Some cash converters.
Oh, it's at home.
At home.
or their brother would have swapped the trucks for something,
but that's what all that works like. That it's like really there's a huge payoff on the good days and with the good results, but it's kind of maddening and frustrating. But you can't not do it, right? And you did it, and that's awesome.
I did it, and then when the funding was cut and everything, I just kind of was like, phew,
next chapter.
It was like, okay, I'm just gonna let that go because it was taking the fun out of skateboarding for me. Yeah. I was like having to try and force kids, like they were like, because they got like skate mums now, like they're like soccer mums or skate dads, and they all want their kids to skate, and those kids don't necessarily even want to skate.
Right.
And I was trying to beg these kids to skate, and it was like, I was like, you know what? When I was a kid, I wanted to skate so bad, and there was no one to teach me. And, it was like, and I was like, you little fuckers, you can, and I also, I guess with the Nick Minute thing, I became so accessible. Yeah. And these kids would be like, they'd be able to ask me anything or say this, do this, say Nick Minute, say Nick Minute.
Novelty,
and it was like, hey, you know what? You shouldn't even be allowed to talk to me. So I was like, I guess I took my skateboarding back, and I was like,
you took on a lot in a short period of time, man. When all of that happened,
Yeah, well, I was doing youth programs as well with my brother-in-law, Tia Ropati, doing the holiday programs out in South Auckland and West Auckland, and doing talks on the anti-bullying suddenly I was the ambassador for anti-bullying, and so I put a lot out there, and it was really intimidating because I was just so accessible to everyone.
A lot of this came from that point that 98% of the New Zealand public knows you for. That all happened since that point. You mean that since that vid went viral, you had all of this kind of phenomena in your life happened?
Well, no, it was just I'd already done a whole lot, and I'd been trying to I had all these ideas of all these things I wanted to do, and then suddenly it was like
you're a novel,
it was like I wanted to do TV. I was doing TV years ago, in Australia on Optus Vision, like a free channel, and I came back to New Zealand, and we tried to get on the main channels, and because I was different, different looking and stuff, they weren't interested.
Was it a show about skating in Oz?
Yeah. Grind TV.
Before, just a technical question here, something I wanted to touch on from a while back. We're talking about something about skateboard designs and whatever. How come around whenever it happened, sometime in the 90s, we went from all these different kind of wooden board designs, I think of something really famously particular like a Tony Hawk or whatever, to pretty much, to my sensibilities, most boards having the same design? Did they crack a sort of a perfect wooden board design? Or is there subtleties in that similar sized tail? You're like, fuck this guy, come on. I'm genuinely interested, man. Oh,
that's cool. We just jump topics there pretty hard.
Yeah.
I mean, well, it's like cars, old cars have got big fins and,
refined
crazy,
design.
Curvy shapes and stuff, and then new cars are aerodynamic. And so they're shaped to be aerodynamic, just like a skateboard was shaped for doing, I don't know, it was kind of shaped for specific tricks that were quite basic. And they'd want a really wide tail for doing tricks to tail and bowls, but then suddenly you were doing a pressure flip off the side of your tail, and you needed it to be curved, like a rounded curve, so that you could put pressure on the side of the tail and scoop it and twist the board.
Right.
And so it was like, like being able to twist the board rather than, and all these other things. So it just became function.
Yeah. And a sort of a universal functionality.
Yeah.
And now I think about it, yeah, one of those big old heavy 80s boards would be like kind of like riding a Cadillac compared to something more lightweight and modern. Oh, the topic shift, I just thought that, I sort of invite you over and just talk about this next minute thing happened for, over an hour. So I figured we'd go and come on back into it.
Yeah, no, sweet ass.
Sorry to throw you there.
I wasn't going to start talking about that anyway, but I was just sort of like...
I thought it was really interesting. Yeah, it's sort of it's an interesting space to be in. You know, downhill. Bombing. Like, you had a hill one day and you had to get down it, or
so. Can we just go back?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I just wanted to go back to where, so the skateboarding thing with the teaching and all that, and the skateboard ambassador and all that stuff, and like basically that I was getting into downhill. So downhill. So I was getting into downhill at the time because it was like, I don't know, I can't ollie as high as I used to. I've got like my lower back just doesn't seem to allow me, and doing the skate school and everything, it was like I just found that I couldn't do all the technical tricks that the kids were into, and it was kind of depressing. And like I said, I felt too accessible, and I was getting into. I'd started riding soft wheels. I started making the footpaths and everything around Auckland rough, that exposed aggregate concrete with the big cracks.
Yeah,
and so I always skated to get everywhere, and that was my buzz. And I always loved bombing hills, and I've been doing it since I was a little kid.
Yeah,
that was just part of it. And they started making everything rough, and I was like, I kind of felt like it's design. You can say what you want about, oh no, it's just this or it's just that or it's cheap or whatever, but it is design. And they were redesigning the city to be unfriendly to skateboarding.
So they switched their mandate.
Yeah, and so I started riding softer wheels and bigger wheels, and like so that I could still skate to get places and listen to music and do that thing that I loved. And so I started doing that, and then I don't know, like I'd sort of looked at longboarding and like downhill skateboarding back in about 2007, 2008.
Yeah.
And but it was in a really weird stage. The boards were had cutout wheels, and they had like drop down platforms, and they were really strange looking, and the style was there was a lot of really ugly styles. There were some good styles, but in New Zealand, we didn't have, because it was like kind of, the internet was just kicking off. We didn't know, in America, you got to see everything developing, but we didn't really know, so it was kind of like,
But you haven't taken on that suspension longboard style, have you? You do it on pretty much a regular board, just with different wheels.
I've got like so I started getting into the soft wheels. Yeah. And then I don't know, like some guys hit me up and they were like, "Hey man, like we ride longboards and we do downhill. Do you want to come out and skate some hills with us?" So I went over to the shore with them one day, and I had some soft wheels on my board. I was riding like a Lucero, which is like 33 inches, which isn't massive, 16-inch wheelbase. And I bombed with them, and they were riding like proper downhill boards with but it was dope. They were kind of like shaped, like they had pointy noses, and they weren't like the ones that I'd seen earlier. And I was like, wow, man, these boards kind of look quite cool. They're like sort of like surfboards or something, and with these quite big square lip wheels. Yeah. And I bombed with them, and they were just like, they were going so much faster than me, and they were flowing, like they were aerodynamic. And I was like, I don't know, I guess like the competitive part of me, or because I was like, I'm the hill bomber, I go fast, and so the next thing I was kind of like started buying a bigger board and experimenting with different trucks, and like now it's gone so... Yeah, I started bombing mountain roads and things, which it's much easier to do on a longer wheelbase.
But you're still not on a longboard like a lot of people ride, right?
Yeah, but people don't even know what a longboard is these days.
Yeah.
I mean, and longboards have gone through the same sort of change in the last 10 years that, or probably 15 years, 20 years, that normal skateboards went through from the 70s to the 2000s, you know, like where it's evolved and been refined and it's been... You know? Yeah. So now, I mean, people think, oh, longboard, and they think of like something they see some dude with dreads pushing barefoot to university on, and that sort of flexes in the middle heaps. But I mean, a downhill board, a longboard now, like a downhill board is they're not huge. Like, they're not that much bigger than a normal skateboard, and they're more like a slalom board. And so the trucks have gotten really skinny, actually skinnier than street trucks. Yeah. And, so, I mean, and I've been experimenting. I went up to, like, riding these massive boards, because, like, that's what you've got to ride that sort of downhill, like the mountain, like, curvy, to go around corners, basically. Yeah. And now it's gotten to the point where the boards are a lot smaller, and they're just real mean.
I like how you took into consideration the aesthetic side of it, because you know, I was going to ask you what skateboarding is. You know, is it art? Is it a sport? Is it da-da-da-da? But it reminded me of whatever the TV show you were on, where she goes, "You're going to wear a helmet?" And you go, "No." She goes, "Why?" You go, "Oh, it's an aesthetic thing." And I was like, "Yep, makes sense." You know,
it's crazy.
And you're right. It changes the whole game of what you're watching.
Yeah, and that was my attitude back then, because I don't know, like that was just the way that I grew up, and because I looked at longboarding and I saw that dude in bare feet pushing Mongo to university, or you know, like, and I was like, I don't want to be affiliated with that. I'm a street skater, and I loved like the street skating and that aesthetic, but then it was like, I don't know. Then like people were real mean to longboarders and stuff, and I was like, wow, like, and I was like, I mean, it's cool to be like, you know, like we're cool and we're like tough and we're like kind of like street or whatever, and we're not super nice or whatever.
Were they like the new rollerbladers for a minute? That kind of.
Oh yeah, definitely. You know, like and. Yeah, the longboarders, the rollerbladers got wiped out, so the longboarders were next. They slid in and filled this gap. But yeah.
So what you're saying is you're happy with the aesthetic space you've found with longboarding.
Totally. But yeah, it was funny because I started looking at longboarders, and when I started seeing downhill and stuff, and people were like dissing them and shit, and I was like, this is kind of like what it was like back in 1991 when I was skateboarding in the streets by myself, getting dissed by everyone.
Nothing like being a bit older, man. I reckon that's part of it.
And I was like, you know, like maybe they're the real punk. You know, like punk rock's about not being in the mainstream. Yeah. And so I was like, maybe I don't know. I wrote like an article on my blog. I used to have a blog. I haven't done.
Your writing's great, man. I've just spotted you on Facebook commenting on stuff. It's so insightful and like well articulated.
Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's
no. I like to think. I've learned later in life through feedback and things I've done that I've realised I like to think I can write, and so I like to think I can spot other people who, you know, quote unquote can, and you can, and you should do it as much as you can. Levi.
Some people are really manipulative, and they'll take something that you write and then pick a piece out of it and then.
Right, I wrote this. You can't. The internet, you can't win. So, for example, I don't know why I've thought of this as an example. I spent a long time, like labour of love, writing sound system, history or beginning of reggae sound system culture in New Zealand. Yeah, and it was well received by people like Dubhead and that. And but as soon as it went up on Facebook, it was like, well, this is missing, that's missing, da da da. It's like, I only had so many weeks I could put into it. I researched and I just laboured over everything I included and everything I didn't. But it's easy to leave a comment, man, you know?
Yeah.
And I think people need to sort of think a bit more before they just and then move on.
I think the other thing that put me off
Don't let it bother you, man.
I really enjoyed doing my blog posts and stuff and and writing stories, you know, like, but then it seemed like everyone was writing, like the internet became such a thing, and it's like it's like, what is it? Opinions are like assholes. Everyone's got one, you know, like, and
yeah, but some people don't articulate them that well, man, or they don't have a lot to say.
And I was like, sometimes it's nice to just not say anything and just do your thing and let that be seen, and let that be, you know, like just. So I guess like I focused more on my skateboarding and more on my art and more, you know, and it's.
So you're saying when you first kind of sussed the bombing thing. In that sense of, you know, just going from a street board and doing it in the middle of Auckland, wherever, and you said, like, I think you said something about it was just pre-internet. Surely now, like, New Zealand's become a destination owing to just the geography. Wouldn't it be a long place people come to bomb hills?
Yeah, I mean,
some Red Bull team.
Yeah, I mean, but we've got some cool roads and stuff, but I don't know, New Zealand doesn't have huge altitude, like
the length and distance.
So like all our roads are really short, and they love chip sealing everything. I don't know, like I think someone like the people. I'm pretty sure that the people. I don't know this for fact, but
no one
like
fact checks,
I always follow them. I always follow the money, you know, and it's like. And it just seems that we spend so much money on roading, just recoating the same roads over and over again with really shitty rubbish, chip seal, and
roads. I don't know. Look, when I lived in Melbourne, because their town planning, there's some history to it. It's not like Auckland is run by fuck ups so much. It's that you might already have heard this. We had a big population increase that town planners couldn't cope with. Yeah. So my understanding is that Melbourne's a bit more put together because they had a more, you know, long and slow approach.
Yeah.
That whole roading thing, since I've lived here, is like, you joke about it with tourists. It's like these roadworks are never going to end. It's just it's a never ending.
But I'm always looking at the pavement. You know, like I'm always aware of the textures that are being put down, and it's
I think those flies are
they're trying to get it on.
Yeah.
But yeah, the amount of roads that I've seen that are perfectly smooth and there's nothing wrong with them, that they repave, and I don't know if they've got budgets to spend or like, but all I know is that someone's getting rich off it.
Yeah, you know what, man?
All this,
you know the business to be in Auckland? Road cones. God damn. I had the 2030 new to buy. Imagine if you were the road cone guy.
Yeah.
It's a lot of longboards. So Bombing Hills, I saw the Jeff Grosso thing where he said, find a hill, go straight, try not to die. And I thought that must be almost like meditation when you get a long enough one, surely, because that's all that singular brain focus on one thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah.
Is there something in that? Or
that whole go straight thing is like, straight's all good, but it's when you get the curves and like it's all the fit. Like,
sorry, my wider sentiment is it kind of like your brain just goes into this nice kind of, well, not nice, terrifying. Like, well, I mean, I've got one job to do.
I've tried like doing meditation and stuff, and I can't switch my brain off.
Yeah.
So when you're skateboarding, or it's like when you're up the mountain snowboarding or skiing.
Yeah.
You switch off and you are totally in the moment, and that's meditation.
So just closing this one off, like, so have you gone and done longer, higher altitudes, other places in the world?
Yeah, I've been to California pretty much just about every year for the last 5 years. And
you used to be pro with street. Do you like get hookups and stuff to go over and do that still?
I skate for Sector 9 in San Diego.
Yeah.
Downhill skateboarding is it's the industry, like it blew up quite a long time ago, and there was a lot of money in it.
Yeah.
And then it died, and now
did you catch that wave?
Underground.
Did you catch that wave at all?
No,
not that you do it for money,
no,
but someone still gives you nice.
So now there's not really much money in it. And, Yes, I mean,
but at least new boards and clothing and all that good stuff.
I mean, I get the stuff that I want to ride, and I get hooked up with the gear, and when I go to Cali, I get to skate with some of the best guys and drive around in a van, and they film me, and
3-4 times the length of a hill ride and on a motorway here, sort of thing.
Yeah,
wow,
and and it's amazing. And the thing is that I guess because I've been sponsored and stuff in the past, I know that once you're getting paid for something or you're getting a decent monetary reward or whatever, that puts a lot of pressure on you.
It does. It's that whole creativity versus...
And but when, so I kind of like the fact that I've got my day job, and I earn my money and I save up, and I fly to California, and I go on skate trips. Yeah,
and I hear that totally. I get it. Yeah, no,
and then I don't know, but it's it's on me, and I skate because I want to skate. I don't skate because I want to get paid, or I mean, I wouldn't have thought that for a second, but it is nice to get some, shiny things for things you love. Yeah, but you can't take any of it with you.
No.
And that's I think the biggest thing in our world that we live in is that it's like everyone's trying to accumulate all this stuff, so that they can die with it. Yeah, and then
capitalism's taught them to do that.
Yeah,
so you get on the wheel, and then you buy more stuff, and then you go and work for stuff, and then you buy more stuff.
Yeah,
that's the story of stuff. There's a video about that online.
Yeah.
And lastly, on a perfunctory for this topic, on a perfunctory level, we talked about no helmet. The thing I saw you wearing on your back is that in case you fall, in case you take a fall on your back, you had a big Mutant Ninja Turtle thing on your back.
Yeah. That was funny. I think.
Oh, is that not all the time?
That made me really unique to the guys overseas because I was wearing that, but I wasn't wearing a helmet.
Yeah,
and
it's like a.
So that was kind of iconic in a
like
way.
A bulletproof vest or harder?
No, it was a mountain biking body armor, and I guess I was bombing hills more and more, and I was getting more and more into it, and my mum used to worry.
Yeah,
I'd come home
Can't worry, Mum.
with all these grazes.
Yeah,
and stuff.
I noticed when you turned on up, man. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've had a bit of carnage the last few weeks. Yeah. It always comes.
Does it?
All at once.
I suppose they wouldn't even really hurt anymore, eh?
Bro, it really hurts.
Sorry,
I'm getting old.
They look really fucking
My
painful.
Skin just rubs
that one
off
on
now.
that one on that side. Yeah, that's deep, man.
That's 3 weeks. Since I did that. You can see how big it was.
Yeah.
And it's. Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, I kind of bought the body armor as I guess I was going through quite a crazy phase, and I was a little bit, not suicidal, but I didn't care.
Yeah.
I skated I didn't care what happened. I was it was...
So psychologically not in the best place, but some great skateboarding was had.
And but then I was trying to get out of that, and I was trying to be okay, I've got to look after myself.
Yeah.
And I was well, when I bail, I always, where
you end up.
I end up rolling on my back and sliding on my back and flipping onto my feet.
Yeah.
That's because we didn't have gloves with plastic on them like we do now.
Yeah.
Well, that's
because it's all about slides, right? So your hands as well.
So I just started wearing it so that if I bailed, I could slide on my back and flip onto my feet, and it was kind of I was thinking about my mum, just thinking, then. I won't fuck myself up. And
that's good. Yeah.
Make my mum worry. And, but then, and I got a lot of grief, from the downhill skateboarding scene for not wearing a helmet. And because I was starting to get up there. I was starting to get up there and do some crazy speeds. And
because people were very conscious about the message sent to wider, to the kids.
I mean,
and
the
so
thing
on
is,
these
once
days.
you've seen someone crash and actually split their head open and bleed, or not be able to wake them up, or like it's
what you're saying you have.
Well, no, it's not happened to me.
Yeah,
I've luckily every time that I've hit my head heaps street skating and stuff, but pretty much every time I've hit my head doing downhill skating, I've been wearing a helmet.
I sometimes this is somewhere in the middle with helmets. I sometimes wonder, like with the way like things like bike helmets are shaped, whether or not something like my neck would be better off if I fell off my bike. Like I kind of feel like,
well, that's the thing.
Oh man, I'm not even slightly an expert here. I don't get the helmet police on me, but and other thing, I see people riding very, 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 very slow things with helmets, and I'm like, this is a bit out of control. But going, it's actually that's a 101 question. Going what? Going, you must have worn a pedometer, a speedometer or something. What do you get up to? It'd have to be 70 or 80k, wouldn't it? More.
No, like at Ruapehu, I would have gotten up close to 100.
Crazy.
But you've got to remember that the world speed record for riding like one of those sort of a big downhill board is 146 km an hour. So
that's instant loss of license if you're in a car.
We don't really have I don't know of a hill in New Zealand where you can reach that speed. You need something long, straight, and steep. And
you need a vert ramp going into that street in Dunedin.
Mellow curves. But you need to be able to ride it out. You got to be able to slow down.
So it's a gross generalisation, but let's do it. A lot of my skater friends over the years have been, very creative in other senses, musicians, visual artists, and the like. Seems to often like come with the territory. What is skateboarding, man? Is it like is it a sport? Is it an art form? Is it a culture? Have you even kind of sat back and sort of smoked a pipe and considered all of this?
Oh, it's all those things.
Yeah.
It's all those things to different people.
Yeah.
And, because I meet some of the...
It's a deep culture, man.
Like the downhill racers, which are a different breed of skater. Like they train, and it's about skating with other people and drafting them and getting the best. It's like you're a cross between a racing car driver and skateboarding.
Yeah.
So and a lot of them don't relate to me very well.
Yeah.
And especially because I've come from street skating,
where
I was probably going, "Fuck you guys, you guys are kooks."
40s of Count Pushkin.
Back when I was ignorant, and I just thought, street skating was the only way, and riding a double kick and bombing hills on hard wheels with no helmet was the only way. But and now it's like I'm trying to learn what they're doing, and I actually respect them because I've tried to do it, and I understand what's involved and the speeds and when you're trying to ride super close to other dudes and sneak past them. If you clip them, you're bailing at at the top speed that you would even do on a double kick.
I think
like on a normal street board.
What else I'm hearing, man, is like the change I've loved being like post about 35 or even 40 is just how your perspective to other things and people change compared to being 18 or 21. That's a part of it too, right?
Well, you think you know everything, and then you realise that you don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know. You don't even know.
And that's the good humbling shit there.
You don't even know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And that's like what it's about,
But it's also great being that age and thinking you know everything, even though you don't, because that ignorance of knowing everything you know is quite bliss.
Yeah.
Age.
Well, it gives you the confidence to do your thing.
To do your thing.
But it's. Yeah.
And so, like, the kind of cliched, like, again, I'm not saying cliched, but the sort of, like, height of kind of 90s skate vid culture, like, lawless, anti-authoritarian street skater. Is there a bunch of 15 to 21-year-olds doing that in Auckland these days?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got like...
We need all the fabric and
you got companies
colour of
like
society.
Supreme and stuff that is like a massive, almost like a corporation.
They sell bricks.
Brand.
Expensive bricks, yeah.
Arcade. And then they're putting out videos with these kids in the streets fighting against security guards. And the security guards are probably employed by the same company that owns Supreme.
Yeah, but that's not real. So, but is there actually a scene in Auckland of like, you know?
I'm just saying. I'm just taking it somewhere else. Like, I'm just saying that, yeah, there is. Yeah. But these kids are like running around like it's the 90s.
Yeah.
Fighting with security guards and shit. And it's like...
But it's not. It's their version. But I know what you're saying. I'm
just saying that it's like, it's so big now and it's so... Street skating is like... And the normal skateboard industry is so mainstream now. It's just been completely absorbed that it's kind of...
Everything that is cool eventually gets co-opted by capitalism and advertising and marketing. That's pretty much a global rule, full stop.
And that's what I like about downhill skateboarding. It's not cool. So it's still got that purity. Yeah. And it's not... I like your
lifelong quest to not be cool.
Yeah, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
That was you know, like the songs and like Wheels of Fire, like Coolidge by the Descendants.
Yeah.
I'm not a cool guy anymore, as if I ever was before, you know? It's like that was the song that I'd hum when I was skating back then, and so now I ride downhill and I'll be like, yeah, I'm not a cool guy. Like it's for sure. That's what it's about, and I guess trying to keep yourself humble, you know.
Or just trying to keep yourself, you know, you got to keep your version of it fresh, and just, you know, you got to be interested in turning it over and evolving it for yourself, I guess, as well, would be a part of it.
Yeah,
can't just be doing the same thing for 30 plus years. The artwork, I had a look on the site, and those big, my knowledge of like artistic inspirations and so on is woeful in terms of describing maybe what they are, but those big coloured panels, are they a current project? They kind of like almost reminded me of like robot heads mixed with like sort of lanes of transit through them. I don't know. I don't know what your inspiration is for them.
It came from doing graffiti.
Yeah,
I guess in the 90s, like 90s skateboarding, hip hop came in, graffiti came into the skateboard graphics, and I started doing graffiti in around after 94.
Yeah.
And then so I did graffiti as well as skateboarding for a long time, and then I sort of I started getting into using paintbrushes and
canvas. They're on canvas or something like that.
Canvas and boards, and I guess like doing legal work, but it was I just kind of, I don't know.
You got a studio set up at your place?
I've actually done a podcast with Burst TMD. Like, so if anyone wants to hear all about that graffiti side of it and
for sure,
and all the art side of it, like
can you remember what his podcast is called?
It's a real-time web series.
And
it's on YouTube.
That's good for me because I'm always looking for more local. I can't believe podcasts are blowing up so much, and I feel like there's still not enough local stuff. So that's another one for me to check.
So I feel like I've kind of talked about
that's cool.
that
That's cool.
Whole
and so, but the
it.
last really question about it was: are those pieces like for sale off your site?
No, I mean my site actually needs to be updated because since in the last few years I've started building sculptures out of concrete.
Do you? Okay, here's a more crafted question. Do you sell? Do you sell your artwork?
Yeah, I'm selling concrete works.
Okay, update your website because the stuff there is wicked, and you should
I've just kind of moved on to Instagram.
Keep it crispy.
So it's like
I've
got a separate Instagram for my art, which is just Levi Hawken art, and that's Hawken EN not IN. So Levi Hawken art on Instagram.
Okay, and I need to get an Instagram account. I don't even take photos. Oh, it's too much.
Yeah, I
spent so long on Facebook building that up.
A website takes so much work, but it is coming. I mean, I've actually just
We're both rubbing our heads talking about
this week. No, it's a sore point. It's a sore point. No, when your website isn't up to date, and it's like, oh god, yeah. But yeah,
you need an intern.
But anyway, well, when you work a full-time job, you skate as much as you possibly can. You're trying to film runs. You're trying to do all these things, and then you're also doing art and building art, and then
good,
you've got to and you've got to do social media, and then you've got to also have a website.
I'm getting tired. Just
but anyway, I've just, as of this week, which is kind of, that's another reason why I jumped at doing this podcast with you, because this week it marks me cutting down to 3 days a week.
Nice.
Of
work.
Doing the landscaping.
So you can do other things.
And so that I can have 2 to 4 days to do my art and skateboarding, and I've got like
and promo.
And I've actually finally got a decent studio space with a friend of mine who makes glassworks, Simon Lewis Wards.
Yeah.
He does like these big glass jet planes and Eskimo lollies.
I've seen those.
Yeah,
they're amazing,
awesome.
man.
Yeah, so he's been making those. Like it's a lot of guys from my old graffiti crew.
Yeah.
And so he's making them, and he's sort of been real nice and let me have a bit of space out there, because I was trying to make concrete sculptures in my carport, and it was just getting
messy.
Well, you got to move everything and tidy everything up every time you want it. Heavy, very heavy. Yeah. And so I'm working out there now, and I just haven't been able to. I got to go out to like Titirangi to do it. And
not a very forgiving medium, Levi. What made a light bulb go on for concrete? That's the one for me.
Well, I guess I grew up skateboarding at Aotea Square.
Yeah, right. Concrete.
And we skated on that monument and all the concrete curbs.
Well, kind of concrete and skateboarding.
Skating on concrete. And, but yeah, the big influence was Terry Stringer's Mountain Fountain at Aotea Square. Yeah. And I just always stared at it, and it's very brutal. And and I always loved, like, because there were no skate parks, and then they started building street parks, and then I started thinking about ways to incorporate architecture into skate parks, and I started drawing and fantasizing about designing skate parks, and then sort of like that's why I was working with the council too. I sort of was, I don't know, I've sort of had all these dreams that I've been chipping away at for a very long time.
Oh, well, you've got 4 other days of the week now, man. That's good. It's good. I can't believe I asked why concrete. It was there staring me in the face.
Yeah.
In the last 10 or 15 minutes, we'll get back to the neck minute thing, because it's quite an out of it thing to have happen, right?
Yeah.
Like, was it just this? You put the video up.
I didn't put it up.
Well, someone put it up. Yeah. And how long did it take before you couldn't escape? Being you.
Oh, I don't know. It happened pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Because I moved to Dunedin to do art and kind of like start fresh and try and escape from the party vibe a bit.
Yeah.
And everyone was going, "Why are you moving to Dunedin? Nothing's going to happen down there. It's like there's nothing going on down there." And I was like, "Well, sweet, I'm going to go down there." And
you went down to quiet life.
I'm going to set up a studio, because I can actually have a studio down there and make art and bomb hills, because I got sick hills. And then we were filming a skateboard video called DVD called South in Your Mouth by Colin Evans.
Yeah.
And we've been partying the night before, and I was a little bit tipsy still.
Yeah.
And we'd just been skating this mini ramp, and I was quite hot and kind of like being a bit, boisterous and stuff. And I just found a broken scooter and made the joke. And so then it was on the DVD.
Yeah.
And then someone took it off the DVD and put it, because I wasn't really on the internet that much. I'd kind of like I was in Dunedin. I didn't even have the internet at my house.
2011 or something?
I'd use the internet like at the library.
Yeah.
And
check in your Hotmail one day
and so I didn't know what going viral was till it happened to me.
Well, I was thinking today, I mean, had it really happened to many Kiwis before you? Probably not. I can't think of anything else that really went viral.
No, there's like Blow on the Pie, and there's other ones, but it was not the same as that one was, just because it was like the saying became
part of the lexicon.
Yeah.
Then you had like, food in a neck minute, 60 neck minutes, neck minute the single, berry flavoured lube.
Yeah, the lube ad was cool. Like I mean, I had a lot of fun just doing things that you wouldn't do. It was like, okay, what should I do? Okay, I'm going to do a song with like a couple of gay dudes who are awesome, like Stanley and Steve, like who I've like.
Oh, was that when you were Elroy?
Yeah, well, that's my tag name. Elroy. And I used to rap. I used to MC. I MC drum and bass. I MC'd. We used to freestyle battle down at the box with Danny D and like King Capisi and and all the old school guys. And so, but that song was like a joke. It was like a joke.
Oh, you can tell listening to it. It's like almost like it's almost Stanley, like a Do the Bartman.
Stanley wrote, Stanley wrote the lyrics.
I got it all.
It had the trumpet, so it was meant to be like. There was a shout out to there was a lot of shout outs in there. Like there was a shout out to OMC, who are Paulie Fuimana, who was a homie. Like I used to hang out with him sometimes, and he'd like talk to me about hip hop and so. Yeah, so I mean, we just sort of did that, and it was like a joke, and you can tell by the video, like it was a joke, and then. But people have always been so confused by the video, and
which video, for the song or
just like the Nick Minute video, because they thought that the character that I was playing is like like
you.
No, it's not me. I was like,
but is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And my posture, everything was. I was playing a character, the Nick Minute guy, and then so the
You were.
So the song was just like, I don't know, because these other people made a song and they didn't come and like ask me like, hey, we're going to make a song. Yeah. We'll give you like a cut of the royalties, or do you want to be in the video or anything? It was like they just made a song about this thing that had happened to me. It's like everyone just started grabbing it and like taking it, and it was like, like Supre and...
it was the classic bite. Everyone was biting.
Yeah, it was like, but it was just like, and I mean, I still haven't had a cent from YouTube or anything, and it's like, and I generally have to calm down.
Who would have got the money from the video monetizing? The person that uploaded it.
Yeah, but they didn't monetize it, so all those
you got to click
views,
you got to click a button or something.
All those original views, like no one, I don't think anyone got any money off it. Colin Evans probably got some money off it because he put up the original and outtakes. Yeah. And I just said to him, I said, dude, like, you can have the money from YouTube or whatever, and
because I want, I'm sure, like, as you said, a bunch of positive stuff came from it, but like it was sort of a perfect storm because it was around the time of like selfie culture coming on up as well. So I'd imagine like every second, well, not every, a bunch of people every day for quite a while wanted a picture with you from when that went up till
they still do. Yeah, like it still happens, and I mean, and
you just learn to be gracious, right?
But I'm still. Well, sometimes you're gracious, sometimes you're not. But people just have to accept that.
Yeah, well, that's right. It's you. It's your life.
Sometimes you'll be super nice, and you'll be like, yeah, cool, and like, and it depends on the person and how they approach you, and when they approach you.
Out there too,
when you're like, your meal's just come at a restaurant, and you're eating, and you've just finally got your food, and they come up and want to get a photo. They're a bit drunk or something, and you're like, hey, I'm eating my dinner, like. Can you come back? If you come back after, sweet as. But, So, I mean, it was a crazy time.
Are you overall, like, because you chalk life up to interesting experiences, right? Yeah. Like, are you okay that it happened?
Well, I don't have any choice. So, I mean, no, I mean, I'm definitely okay that it happened. Yeah. I mean, but that's life, like sometimes good things happen, sometimes bad things happen, sometimes you can control it, sometimes you can't. I mean,
it's an interesting thing that happened to you.
It was
an
organic,
interesting thing that happened to you.
Yeah, and it was crazy because it was like I just had a piece done on me by 2020 about my skateboarding and my art and about my genetic disorder and about being picked on as a kid and stuff. And then like that happened. And the comments on the YouTube video and stuff, like the gnarly shit that people said to me, like
I couldn't deal with that.
So it was almost like a perfect physical example, and so like on one side you had the people who were criticizing you and thinking that they knew that you're a crackhead or you had cancer or you were the dude out of Goonies brother, or and then you had the other people who were like who could relate to being picked on and being different, and it was a lot of it gave a lot of those people strength.
Yeah.
And so I mean, and I fed the Nick Minute thing. I mean, I had people approaching me, and I was like, well, if I can make some money out of this,
if you can do it on your own terms, if you can do it, absolutely.
If it's not going away, I'm like, well, okay, so I'm going to use it. And so I just kind of rolled with it. I did some fun things. I did, like an ad for lube.
Yeah.
And we performed that song, the Nick Minute song, performed that at the Big Gay Out, which was kind of cool.
Much more recently, I actually really liked that drink driving ad just because it's a cool ad.
Yeah.
That's quite trippy.
Well, that's the thing. And I just like, if people come and they want to pay to do stuff, I'll be that guy.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to...
But Supre can... fuck off, because they basically robbed you.
Well, I mean, I did around that time. I did like I started doing a bit of stand-up comedy, and I did that a little bit, and then I just I experimented with it, and because I had sort of like the idea of doing comedy and stuff, but I just found that I didn't like having to deal with the attention and having to be that guy all the time,
being the meme.
Yeah, like being the meme, and it's like, and the more I fed it, it was like, and the more I
don't feed the meme.
It was like, then I had to be that guy.
Yeah,
and so I've just sort of focused on instead of focusing my attention on growing that, I just focused my attention on my skateboarding and my art, and continuing to do the things that I love and that I care about. Because they're like, Levi, we're so sick of this. We see all this shit you're doing, and it's whatever. It's funny, but it's not. Some of them didn't find it funny. They were like, like people, because there are a lot of people out there who weren't laughing because it was funny. They were laughing at me because they felt like they were better than me, or that. But I mean, it's their insecurities or whatever. Because a lot of those people maybe weren't the best looking people, and they didn't like to see someone who is unusual looking doing well or getting attention or whatever,
Oh, you're still doing heaps of shit, and you haven't moved, to the Gold Coast to disappear or whatever. So you've ridden it through. And I was also thinking, even 2011 compared to now, not that stink. YouTube's the worst for comments out of the whole internet for some reason.
Yeah,
but I think as a
society,
right? I think as a society, we're a bit more equipped to deal, kind of understand it all more now. It's all such a new way of communicating. I've even noticed that people aren't as vicious with each other on Facebook about topics now, it's just learning. But there's still a lot of dicks on YouTube.
But there's a lot more policing now, and there's actually people get called out and they get made examples of, and then the whole internet attacks. It's like the internet is an angry mob with the burning torches and pitchforks.
Yeah,
and it's kind of scary. And a lot of the time when people, whoever's the latest person who's done something bad or whatever, and everyone gangs up and attacks them, I think you sort of realize that that could be you tomorrow.
Yeah.
If you go out and do something stupid, or you make a mistake, or maybe something that you did when you're in your youth, in the crazy days, comes back, and it's like, that could be you, and it's like, people aren't forgiving now. There's no forgiveness.
But you know what else that's really fickle about it often is you'll get this extreme outrage. I remember, I don't know why this one springs to mind, the Mad Butcher supposedly said something racist on Waiheke Island, and it was all over, and then within 24, 48 hours, it's almost like it's completely forgotten, and people have moved on to the next thing to attack. It's like you say, it's a bunch of people with burning stakes, running from, thing to thing.
Yeah, and the media, the media will prop you up and put you up on stage and shine the lights on you and say how amazing you are, but then the moment that you do something wrong, they'll be the first ones to, to throw you to the pack.
Yeah, but everyone who knows you, Levi, knows the other 99.8% of interesting shit you've done all your life. I mean, I didn't even know you'd done stand-up until a few minutes ago. Lastly, on that topic, man, it's a bit sort of existential, but what do you reckon it's taught you about people? the whole becoming a meme and coming out the other end process, or nearly out the other end.
Jeez, what it's taught me. People.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's some good ones.
I don't know.
There's some not so flash ones.
Yeah, I think that it's just kind of taught me about. Oh God, that's such a ridiculously
bit stonerish for the end, eh?
No, that's just a crazy question because it's so big.
Yeah,
it's like you could write a book on that question. You know, like what is it?
And to be fair, it's one I probably should have sent you beforehand. you know, if there was going to be any questions beforehand.
What's that thing? Mikey Havoc was playing on BFM. I don't know. It's like a audio book.
Oh yeah, I remember when he was doing that.
It's not humans. It's like, oh man.
Anyway,
it's Homo sapiens, I think it's called.
Yeah.
Or
with that very sort of twee British guy, like Richard Dawkins style.
Yeah, like, I mean, that's sort of what we're dealing with, and because there's so much information now, everything's so technical. I think that the main thing that it's taught me is just to keep. It was me doing my thing and following my heart and doing the things that I loved that made that meme happen.
Yeah.
And so you have to remember that and not clutch onto things I think people, you just got to do what you love and follow your heart, you know, like don't.
Well, it was seeing your writing online and knowing about your skating that got me the courage up to get you to come in here, and I thought the Nick Minute thing would be an interesting side topic, and I'm stoked you came in within a day or two, and it's been a pleasure, bro, and I'm going to quick and dirty get this one up maybe even tonight. So where can people find you with all your social media that you need to update?
I mean, I've got my art website if you want to see my paintings.
Go and have a look at the old ones.
My paintings, it's just levihawken.com, and my last name's spelt Hawken.
Yeah.
Just so you know. And then I've got my Instagram, just Levi Hawken, which is my skateboarding and anything Nick Minute related. And then Levi Hawken Art is my concrete work, pretty much. And on Facebook, I've got a fan page, which is just Levi Hawken.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I haven't really been posting much on there, but I'd like to start.
That's cool. Then just go and look at the art to begin with. So you've been working all day, bro, and we'll get you on the road. But as I say, thanks for coming on in and giving your time up.
Yeah, cool.